For today's DIY, you will need cardstock, scissors, a butter knife, and a hot glue gun. Let's get started. Okay, so guys, the first thing you're going to do is you are going to download the template. I have linked it in the description box below. And you are going to make 6 of the small flower petals, 6 of the medium petals, and 8 of the large petal. Again, it is linked in the description box below. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut out each one of those petals, and you're going to put a 1/2 inch to 1 inch slit down the middle of each petal. As you can see that I'm doing here. And then once you put that slit into that petal, you are going to put just a small dollop of hot glue on there, and you are going to just crisscross the slits. Now this particular one, I did not make the slit quite large enough, so I just cut a little bit more. You really don't need more than 1 inch or so, because the smaller the slit, the more the flower petal is going to stand out, and that's what you want. And you're just going to do the exact same thing for the medium petal as well as the large one. Now you want to take that butter knife. I know you guys were thinking, a butter knife? Where in the world do we need a butter knife for? This is what you need a butter knife for. You want to take that butter knife and you want to curl the petals of your flower. And you are going to curl them backwards away from the center of the petal, as I'm doing right here. And please take your time. Take your time. It is only paper, so you do not want to rip it. So just put gentle pressure on there with the butter knife, and you just want to curl it ever so slightly to give it a more realistic look. Now these two are accidentally glued together, but it's okay. I can fix that. And then I'm going to take a blank piece of cardstock. This is going to be my base for my flower. You need to adhere it to something in order to move it. If you're going to put it on a wall, on a backdrop, whatever you're going to use the flower for, it needs a base, or else it'll pretty much fall apart. I tried trying to glue the petals to themselves to see if it would just stand up on its own, and it really didn't. So I'm just going to use a blank piece of cardstock. Now Any color cardstock will do, you guys. If you have a particular color scheme that you're going with, or in my case, I was running very low on the white cardstock, so I just implemented the pink as well. It's for my daughter, so pink and white is absolutely fine. So you just use whatever color is going to work with your project, okay? Do you, boo? And I am just laying out the larger petal on top of the 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And that's only because I'm trying to get an idea of how close I want them together, or you know, how much they will be overlapping. They will definitely overlap. Obviously, petals this large are not going to fit evenly on that piece of paper or that piece of cardstock, and that's absolutely fine because the petals of a real flower do overlap, so that's completely okay. I was going for a circle as I lay down my petals, but it's more like a semicircle, and guess what? That's okay too. And as you guys can see, I am placing the petals kind of overlapping, well, underlapping, because I am placing them under the petal right before them. That's completely fine. But again, you're going to have to overlap. So whether you choose to place the petal over the petal in front of it or under is completely okay, but there will be overlapping. And this is pretty much what it looks like after you have put on all the large petals. I'm going to do the exact same thing with the medium size. Now, I'm not going to place the petal directly on top of the larger one. I am going to stagger them. So I'm putting them in between each petal. You want the layers. The layers are what are going to give you that realistic look. So don't place them directly on top of the large petal. Stagger them in between. Now guys, this is only my second attempt at these paper flowers, and it has been a learning experience already. My disclaimer is that I am not a professional, so you professional paper flower makers out there, don't y'all come for me in those comments. Girl, don't come for me if I don't send for you. Now, if you want to give me some tips, I will happily accept some tips and little tricks that you do to make this an even more realistic project. But don't y'all come for me. I said I'm not a professional. You are going to just repeat the process with the small petal. Well, on top of the medium, again, stagger it. Okay, so now that you've put all the petals on, what you want to do is you want to cut off the excess of that piece of cardstock that we actually glued the flower to. Now girls, fellas, whoever's listening to this video, be very careful with this step right here. Who in the world wants to cut off their petals after they've done all that hard work? Nobody. So y'all take y'all time. Do not cut your flower all up. We have worked too hard up until this point to completely destroy our beautiful creation. So go slowly. It does not have to be a perfect cut. Honestly, you just want to cut off those ends because you don't want them to show behind your flower. And here's where you start doing some fine tuning. As you can see, some of the petals are are a little further apart than others. And again, this is one of my biggest learning pieces right now, is how to get them as evenly placed as possible. But a nice solution to that is just add a little drop of hot glue to it and glue some of those petals together. Now, I don't glue all the petals together in the center, but on the outside I'm going to add a piece of glue to every single one of those, and I'm going to glue them to each other because I want it to have a certain shape. I don't want the petals to just kind of fan out willy-nilly, if that makes sense. I want them to be a bit more tamed. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a piece of hot glue with a hot glue gun, and I'm just going to glue those petals to each other. And here's what it's looking like thus far. If you guys notice, our flower does not have a bulb in the middle. So that is what we're going to create right here. And this is the last step. You're almost there. Hang in there. Again, I'm just going to take a plain piece of cardstock in whatever color you like. And I'm going to cut that cardstock in half. After I cut it in half, I am going to cut fringes, is what I'm going to call them. I'm just going to take one side of the cardstock and I'm going to cut little fringes or little slits down that piece of paper. And they are probably about a couple of inches, I guess. I'm so bad at being able to tell you how much, but it's probably about an inch, inch and a half probably, fringes down one side of the cardstock. And I decided to cut a little bit of the extra paper off of there because I don't want the bulb to be standing taller than the actual flower. So I just decided to trim a little bit off. You can do it however you would like, but you don't want the bulb to be too tall because it will kind of stick out in the middle of the flower. And all I'm doing is I added a bead of hot glue and I'm just rolling it. And again, take your time on this part because you do want it lined up as perfectly as you can. It doesn't have to be exact, but you do want to get it as close as possible. So take your time rolling it, and again, you don't want to get burned. Here's what it's looking like thus far. It's a little small for that big flower. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to repeat this process to make that bulb larger. Now this time we're going to take our original bulb and we are going to actually glue that to the center of your new bulb. And this is just going to make it larger. And then what I'm doing is I'm just going to fan it out. Again, I just be trying to make it look as realistic as it possibly can. So I just fan it out a little bit. I am going to just kind of see where exactly I want it placed in the middle of the flower. And I'm just going to put a substantial amount of hot glue in the center of that flower. And I'm going to pop that bulb right in the center. And guys, guess what? You're done. After you put that in there, you are done. That is the final step. I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to put them in the comment section below. If you're new here, my name's Felicia, also known as MissFeMarie, and I would love to have you stay and subscribe and become a member of the FeMarie family. And to my ride or dies, to my family, hey y'all, hey. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I will be back to show you guys how I created the other flower as well. So stay tuned for that. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye y'all.